Nothing about an octopus follows the usual rules. It has no skeleton, no shell, no rigid shape to protect it, and yet it moves with precision. It slips through narrow spaces, explores its surroundings with care, and interacts with the world as if it were quietly in control. An octopus does not think the way we do. Nearly two-thirds of its neurons are not in its head. They are spread throughout its arms, allowing each limb to sense and respond on its own. Parts of the body can feel, decide, and act without waiting for instructions. Its blood carries oxygen using copper instead of iron, giving it a deep blue color. It has 3 hearts. When it swims, 2 of them stop beating, which is why it often prefers to glide slowly along the seafloor. Scientists have studied octopuses for decades, and strangely, the more they learn, the less familiar intelligence begins to feel. Awareness does not seem to live in one place. Control is not centralized. Thinking appears shared, flowing through the body rather than issuing commands from a single point. But how does a body without a single center remain coordinated? So how does a creature without a clear center remain coordinated? What does intelligence mean when it is spread across 8 arms? How can learning and problem-solving exist without one dominant mind in charge? And what might this tell us about how many different ways life can think? Tonight, we are exploring a lineage that evolved almost entirely on its own, following a path very different from our own. Before we begin, if these gentle journeys bring you a sense of calm, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like and maybe even subscribed. It helps this little community grow, and if you'd be kind enough, let me know in the comments where in the world are you listening from, and what's the time is over there. It's always a joy to see how far these sleepy stories drift across the world. Now take a slow breath, let your shoulders loosen. Now let's begin. The octopus enters the world already complete, not as a sketch awaiting structure, but as a finished form shaped entirely for water. Its body is organized around a soft central mantle that holds the vital organs, a living chamber that expands and contracts with each breath. Water is drawn in, passed gently over gills, hidden within folds of tissue, then released again through a muscular siphon. Breathing and movement share the same rhythm, each pulse quiet and deliberate. From this mantle extend 8 arms, arranged in a circle rather than a line. There is no front or back in the usual sense, only a body that radiates outward. Each arm is built from layers of muscle, without any internal bones, allowing it to bend, twist, lengthen, or compress with equal ease. Strength comes not from rigid support, but from hydrostatic pressure, water held inside living flesh that stiffens only when needed. The octopus carries its structure moment by moment, assembling and dissolving its shape as it moves. Within the animal kingdom, octopuses belong to the phylum Mollusca, a lineage defined by soft bodies rather than skeletons. This group includes snails, clams, and squid, organisms that share a distant architectural logic, even when their lives look nothing alike. Octopuses fall within the cephalopods, a branch in which the body plan gathers the limbs close to the head, merging perception and action into a single region of motion. They are not fish. Fish rely on fins, scales, and rigid internal frameworks to move through water with continuous forward momentum. The octopus moves by curling and unfurling, by reshaping rather than pushing. It is also not a reptile. There are no lungs, no scales, no separation from the surrounding environment. Its skin remains exposed, sensitive, and active, a surface that feels as much as it covers. At the center where the arms meet sits the mouth, small and precise, armed with a hard beak capable of breaking shells. Food passes into a compact digestive system that winds through the mantle, efficient and direct. Above it all, the siphon regulates motion, allowing slow glides or sudden bursts, always tied to the act of breathing itself. Across species, from the widely studied Octopus vulgaris to deep water relatives that rarely meet human eyes, this foundation remains steady. Soft body, 8 arms, gills for respiration, and a form built without permanent shape. Scientists agree on this anatomy and classification before uncertainty begins. An octopus is an invertebrate predator, a cephalopod mollusk that abandoned the shell and learned to survive without armor. Everything that makes it unsettling or extraordinary rests on this simple agreement: a body designed to exist without fixed boundaries, carrying the ocean within itself. The octopus carries no permanent outline. Its body does not remember a shape from one moment to the next. When it rests, the form loosens and spreads. When it moves, the same body gathers itself into curves and coils. There is no skeleton beneath the skin and no shell above it. What exists instead is living tissue arranged in layers of muscle that press against water held inside the body. Shape appears only when motion requires it. This way of existing changes how movement unfolds. An octopus does not push itself forward with rigid strokes. It flows. Arms extend and shorten, like slow thoughts made visible. One arm anchors while another reaches. The body follows without resistance. When space narrows, the animal does not hesitate or measure. It softens, the mantle compresses, arms fold and slide. A gap no wider than an eye becomes a doorway. The body reshapes itself around the world rather than forcing the world to move aside. Muscle replaces bone in every direction. Longitudinal fibers shorten an arm, transverse fibers widen it, oblique layers twist it into gentle spirals. These changes happen continuously and quietly. There is no single posture that must be maintained. Stability comes from constant adjustment. The body listens to pressure and responds by redistributing itself. Movement and balance become the same act. Without a rigid frame, there is also no single point of vulnerability. A predator striking bone can break it. A shell can crack. The octopus offers neither. Bites meat yielding flesh that slips away. Grabs find nothing firm to hold. Even when contact is made, the body can divide its attention. One arm pulls free while the rest of the animal continues moving. Escape becomes a matter of redirection rather than force. Flexibility also changes how the octopus occupies its environment. It does not travel above the seafloor so much as through it. It pours itself over rocks and into crevices. It settles into hollows shaped by coral or stone. Stillness becomes another form of motion as the body molds itself to what surrounds it. Predators pass without noticing a boundary between animal and terrain. This ability to reshape is not a trick used occasionally. It is the foundation of survival. Without bones, the octopus avoids injury by never presenting a fixed target. Without a shell, it avoids detection by becoming indistinct. Energy is spent on control rather than protection. The body remains light and responsive. Growth continues without constraint. Each moment offers a new configuration suited to the immediate world. Over millions of years, this softness has proven durable. A body without fixed shape adapts to places that rigid forms cannot enter. It survives by yielding rather than resisting. In water that shifts and presses from every side, the octopus answers with a body that never insists on remaining the same. An octopus does not experience its body as a single surface responding to one command. Along each arm runs a dense network of nerve cells, woven through muscle and skin like a second current beneath the visible motion. These neurons are not simple relays. They sense texture, pressure, and chemical traces directly from the environment. Information enters the arm and is processed there, close to where movement occurs, without first traveling inward to a central point. When an arm explores a surface, it does not wait. Suckers make contact, adjust their grip, release, and reattach in subtle sequences that never pause for instruction. The arm curls around a rock or shell as if it already knows how. This knowledge is not stored in one distant place. It lives locally, embedded in the arm itself, shaped by evolution rather than rehearsal. The central brain remains involved, but more as a coordinator than a director, setting broad intentions while details unfold elsewhere. Laboratory observations have made this separation visible. When individual arms are gently isolated from visual input, they continue to perform purposeful actions. An arm can locate food, manipulate objects, and withdraw from discomfort even when signals from the eyes are absent. In carefully controlled conditions, detached arms have been observed responding to touch with organized movement for a short time, gripping and releasing as if the body were still whole. These moments are brief and clinical, yet they reveal something fundamental. Decision-making does not reside entirely in the head. Within a living octopus, this distributed system allows many actions to occur at once. One arm probes a crevice, another steadies the body, a third draws food inward. These movements do not collide or compete. They flow together, synchronized without constant supervision. The brain does not calculate every bend or grip. Instead, it provides a general direction, a readiness to respond, while the arms manage the immediate world. This arrangement challenges the familiar image of a single command center issuing orders. Control becomes a shared process, layered and adaptive. The body thinks with itself. Intelligence appears less like a voice, speaking outward, and more like a quiet agreement between parts, each contributing its own perspective. The arms do not act independently in isolation, yet they are not passive tools either. They participate. Over time, this system has proven remarkably effective. Damage to one arm does not halt the animal. Loss is absorbed and compensated. Flexibility extends beyond shape into function. Survival does not depend on protecting one critical node. Instead, it relies on cooperation distributed through flesh. In this body, thought is not confined behind a skull. It moves with the arms, touches the world directly, and returns changed. The octopus remains whole not because everything answers to one mind, but because many small decisions align without needing to be gathered into one place. Inside the mantle, tucked away from the constant movement of arms and skin, the central brain rests quietly. It is compact, ring-shaped, and wrapped around the esophagus, an arrangement that already hints at compromise rather than dominance. This brain does not tower over the body. It does not broadcast precise instructions to every corner. Instead, it exists as one participant in a larger conversation, listening as much as directing. Its role is subtle. The central brain integrates signals from vision, balance, and internal state. It sets general intentions: when to hunt, when to retreat, when to remain still. Once these intentions are established, the details are released outward. The arms take over the immediate work of interacting with the environment. Movement unfolds locally, shaped by touch and resistance rather than by pre-written plans. The brain does not micromanage. It trusts the body. Coordination replaces command. Instead of issuing orders, the nervous system aligns many semi-independent processes into a shared rhythm. The brain adjusts overall posture and orientation. Arms respond to texture and pressure. Skin reacts to light and shadow. Each part contributes information and action without waiting for permission. The result is a body that behaves coherently without constant oversight, like a tide guided by the moon, rather than by individual drops of water. When control is decentralized, speed increases. Signals do not need to travel long distances before action occurs. Responses emerge where contact happens. An arm encountering a sudden obstacle redirects itself immediately. The brain remains informed, but not burdened. This arrangement reduces delay and allows the animal to operate smoothly in complex environments filled with shifting surfaces and narrow spaces. Decentralization also changes vulnerability. There is no single point whose failure ends the system. Injury does not silence the whole. If one arm is damaged, others continue working. If sensory input is reduced in one area, the rest of the body adapts. Control redistributes itself automatically, maintaining function through flexibility rather than redundancy. Survival becomes a property of the whole network rather than of one critical organ. This structure reshapes the meaning of intelligence. Thought does not reside entirely behind the eyes. It is expressed through movement, through touch, through the constant negotiation between body and world. The brain participates by shaping priorities and maintaining coherence, but it does not own every decision. Intelligence becomes something enacted rather than contained. In this body, awareness drifts across tissues. It appears in the timing of a grip, in the smooth avoidance of collision, in the seamless cooperation of arms that never collide despite acting at once. The brain supports this flow without interrupting it. Control is present but gentle, more like guidance than authority. A mind built this way does not insist on hierarchy. It allows many processes to coexist, each competent in its own domain. What emerges is not disorder, but balance. A living system that remains coordinated without being centralized, unified without being commanded, and alive to its surroundings through every part at once. An octopus enters the world without ceremony. There is no lingering presence to guide it, no waiting figure to shape its first movements. From the moment it leaves the egg, it drifts or settles into water that offers no protection beyond what the body already knows. The hatchling is complete enough to survive or fail on its own terms. Nothing follows it. Nothing watches. There is no childhood in the familiar sense, no period of imitation or gradual instruction. The small body carries within it the patterns needed to hunt, hide, and move. These patterns are not learned through observation. They emerge quietly as the animal begins to interact with its surroundings. The sea becomes both classroom and test, offering no corrections and no encouragement. This absence of guidance shapes the way intelligence unfolds. An octopus never sees another of its kind solve a problem. It does not inherit solutions through demonstration or shared experience. Each individual must encounter the world as if it were new, discovering how objects respond, how spaces close or open, how resistance feels against muscle and skin. Learning happens through direct engagement, one encounter at a time. Despite this solitude, complex behavior appears quickly. The animal experiments without hesitation. It touches unfamiliar surfaces. It probes openings. It withdraws and returns. Memory forms without being reinforced by repetition from others. What works is retained. What fails is quietly abandoned. Intelligence grows inward rather than outward, shaped by private trial rather than collective knowledge. The lack of social learning does not slow development. In some ways, it sharpens it. There is no reliance on tradition, no inherited shortcuts. Each octopus builds its understanding from the ground up, guided by sensation and outcome alone. The nervous system seems prepared for this task, tuned to notice small differences and store useful patterns with efficiency. This way of learning leaves no room for correction through example. Mistakes carry immediate consequence. Success brings immediate reward. The environment provides all the feedback required. Over time, the animal becomes adept not because it was shown how, but because it remained attentive. Intelligence becomes a quiet accumulation of lived moments rather than a shared inheritance. There is also no long future to prepare for. Life moves quickly. Growth is rapid. Decisions matter early. The mind that develops under these conditions is practical and present, focused on immediate interaction rather than long-term planning shaped by culture. Knowledge does not travel across generations. It dissolves with the body, leaving each new life to begin again. And yet, this isolation does not produce simplicity. Instead, it gives rise to flexible thinking, to problem-solving that adapts rather than repeats. Intelligence emerges without being taught, without being passed down, without ever being witnessed by another of its kind. It forms in silence, guided only by the steady pressure of the world itself, proving that a mind can take shape even when it grows entirely alone. Silence surrounds the octopus as it works. There is no sound to announce intention and no signal to share success. Movement begins without display, a quiet reach toward an unfamiliar object resting on the seafloor. The arms explore patiently, tracing edges, pressing against surfaces, testing resistance. Nothing is rushed. The world offers a puzzle, and the body answers with attention. In controlled spaces, objects meant to contain food become invitations to experiment. Lids are turned, plugs are pulled, seams are traced again and again until a change occurs. The octopus does not strike or force. It repeats small adjustments, altering grip and angle, pausing between attempts as if registering the outcome. When a container opens, the sequence that led there settles into memory. The next encounter unfolds with fewer movements and less hesitation. These moments reveal a kind of learning that does not depend on instruction. There is no demonstration and no shared language. The animal relies on experience alone, storing the relationship between action and result within its nervous system. Memory persists beyond the immediate moment. Days later, the same task is approached with quiet confidence, the solution carried forward without rehearsal or reinforcement from others. In maze-like environments, paths are traced and retraced. Wrong turns are abandoned. Correct routes are returned to with ease. The octopus adapts its movements to the structure of the space, adjusting posture and direction until progress becomes smooth. What matters is not speed, but retention. The animal remembers where resistance occurred and where passage opened. Each journey leaves a subtle imprint. This problem-solving unfolds without communication. No signal is sent outward. No acknowledgement is received. Intelligence remains private, expressed only through behavior. The body learns by doing, and the knowledge gained stays within the individual. There is no need to explain or persuade. Success is its own confirmation. Trial does not appear random. Exploration follows a pattern of variation and refinement. Movements change slightly from one attempt to the next, as if the body is narrowing its focus. Failures are informative. They shape the next action without discouragement or display. Over time, effort decreases while effectiveness increases, a hallmark of learning grounded in memory rather than chance. Without language or social exchange, intelligence takes a different form. It is embedded in motion and sensation, not symbols or shared meaning. The octopus does not describe a solution, it enacts it. Thought becomes visible only when the body moves with purpose. In this quiet mode of problem solving, cognition does not announce itself. It leaves no trace beyond the solved task and the remembered path. Intelligence exists without conversation, without instruction, and without witness. It grows inward, shaped by repeated contact with the world, proving that understanding can deepen even when it develops entirely in silence. Even in solitude, differences appear. When one octopus encounters something unfamiliar, it advances without pause, arms reaching outward with steady confidence. Another hesitates, withdrawing slightly before returning more slowly. A third circles the object from a distance, observing before deciding whether to engage at all. These variations are not fleeting moods. They persist, quiet signatures written into behavior. Researchers observing individual octopuses over time have noted these patterns repeating with remarkable consistency. Some individuals approach novelty again and again, showing a tendency toward exploration that does not fade. Others remain reserved, choosing shelter over exposure even when circumstances change. These tendencies hold across days and environments, suggesting something more enduring than momentary response. The animal carries a disposition that shapes how it meets the world. This stability is striking in a creature that lives alone. There are no social roles to perform and no group dynamics to navigate. Personality does not arise from hierarchy or cooperation. It does not serve communication or bonding, and yet it exists. Each octopus expresses a recognizable style of interaction, a way of being that remains intact across encounters. Curiosity often reveals itself through extended investigation. An object is touched repeatedly, rotated, tested from multiple angles. Time passes without urgency. In more cautious individuals, contact is brief and purposeful. The arms withdraw as soon as information is gathered. Boldness and restraint shape not only movement, but also the pace of learning and exploration. These traits influence survival in subtle ways. A curious octopus may discover new food sources or shelters, but also risks exposure. A cautious one avoids danger, but may miss opportunity. Neither approach is universally superior. Variation ensures that no single strategy defines the species. In changing environments, diversity of behavior becomes resilience. Personality persists without imitation. There is no one to observe or emulate. Each individual expresses its tendencies without reinforcement from others. This suggests that personality arises from internal differences in nervous systems, from how sensitivity, memory, and responsiveness are balanced within the body. The absence of social pressure allows these differences to remain uncorrected and unshaped by conformity. Over time, these behavioral patterns become familiar to those who study them. An octopus can be recognized not by markings or size, but by how it reacts. One retreats when approached, another remains still. Another reaches outward as if greeting the intrusion. These responses are consistent enough to feel like identity, even though no audience exists to witness it beyond the observer. Personality, in this case, does not serve relationship. It serves interaction with the environment itself. The world becomes the counterpart. Rocks, currents, shadows, and openings receive each individual differently, depending on the style with which it engages them. Personality becomes a way of filtering experience, shaping which moments accumulate into memory. In a life lived alone, individuality does not dissolve, it deepens. Each octopus carries its own version of the world within its behavior, proving that personality does not require society to exist. It emerges quietly, sustained by repetition, and remains present until the end of a solitary life. Light, reaches the octopus before shape does. In the dim gradients of the sea, brightness arrives as contrast rather than color, a shifting map of shadow and glow. The eye receives this information quietly, wide and steady, adapted not for richness of hue but for precision of outline and movement. What matters most is not what something is called, but how it interrupts the surrounding light. The octopus eye is built with a simplicity that mirrors its purpose. A single lens focuses light directly onto the retina without the layered detours seen in many vertebrates. There is no blind spot where nerves interrupt vision. The image forms cleanly and immediately, allowing the animal to register changes in its environment with minimal delay. Motion becomes especially clear. A flicker in the water or a subtle shift along the seafloor stands out against stillness. Despite this clarity, the octopus does not see color in the way humans do. Its retina lacks the variety of photoreceptors needed to separate wavelengths into reds, greens, and blues. The world arrives instead as a spectrum of brightness. Yet this limitation does not blur perception. In water, color fades quickly with depth, absorbed by distance and suspended particles. Contrast remains. Edges remain. Movement remains. Vision becomes tuned to what endures. Some evidence suggests that octopuses may sense color indirectly through other means, perhaps by detecting subtle differences in light polarization or by using the way their pupils distort incoming light. These possibilities remain gentle suggestions rather than firm conclusions. What is clear is that the absence of color does not hinder interaction. The animal navigates complex spaces, identifies prey, and avoids danger with confidence. This form of vision reshapes the idea of what seeing means. Color is not a requirement for effective perception. The octopus demonstrates that clarity can arise from limitation, that removing one layer of information can sharpen attention to another. The eye becomes a tool for detecting relationships rather than labels, focusing on how objects behave within light rather than how they appear in isolation. In this visual world, patterns matter more than pigments. The ripple of sand, the outline of a crab, the slow drift of kelp all announce themselves through contrast and motion. The octopus responds accordingly, aligning its body with shadow, pausing when brightness shifts, advancing when movement reveals opportunity. Vision integrates seamlessly with touch and posture, forming a continuous awareness of space. Perception here is practical and grounded. It does not attempt to recreate the world in full detail. It selects what is necessary. By seeing without color, the octopus reveals that perception is not about completeness but relevance. The mind does not need every possible signal, it needs the right ones. Through this lens, vision becomes an act of interpretation rather than reception. The octopus reads light the way a tide reads the shore, responding to change rather than description. In doing so, it reminds us that reality can be understood through many sensory arrangements, each sufficient in its own quiet way. Light does not arrive at the octopus only through the eyes. It touches the body directly, settling across skin that is more than a boundary. Beneath the surface, scattered among layers of muscle and pigment, lie cells that respond to brightness itself. They register shifts in light quietly, without forming images, without passing through the familiar pathways of sight. This sensitivity allows the body to react even when the eyes are not involved. Skin exposed to sudden illumination adjusts almost immediately. Patterns soften or sharpen. Pigment cells tighten or relax. These changes do not require visual confirmation from the brain. The skin senses light on its own terms and responds locally, as if each patch carries a small awareness of the surrounding glow. The presence of these light-responsive cells blurs the line between seeing and being seen. The octopus does not rely solely on distant perception. It feels brightness the way it feels pressure or texture. Light becomes another physical influence, shaping behavior through direct contact rather than interpretation. The body listens to illumination the same way it listens to water moving across it. This arrangement reduces dependence on a single sensory channel. If the eyes are focused elsewhere or partially obscured, the skin continues to gather information. Subtle changes in brightness along the mantle or arms contribute to posture and pattern. The body remains oriented even when vision is incomplete. Awareness spreads outward, diffused rather than concentrated. These responses are not deliberate signals. They are automatic adjustments that emerge from the interaction between light and tissue. A shadow passing overhead may prompt a softening of contrast. A sudden brightness may trigger a tightening of pigment. The skin does not analyze, it responds. In doing so, it supports the animal's ability to remain aligned with its environment without constant oversight. This sensory distribution reinforces a theme already woven through the octopus body. Control and perception are not centralized, they are shared. The skin does not wait for permission from the brain to acknowledge light. It participates directly in maintaining coherence between body and surroundings. Each region contributes its own small piece of information, adding to a collective sense of place. Such a system favors continuity over precision. The octopus does not need a detailed image of every change. It needs awareness that change is occurring. Light, sensitive skin provides this background knowledge, allowing the animal to remain responsive even in complex or shifting conditions. Perception becomes layered, with vision, touch, and light sensitivity overlapping rather than competing. A body that senses as a whole moves differently through the world. It does not separate observation from action. Adjustment happens everywhere at once. The boundary between sensing and responding dissolves into a single process. In this way, the octopus exists not as a creature looking out at its environment, but as one continuously shaped by it, light settling across skin and quietly guiding form from moment to moment. Color moves across an octopus like a passing thought. It appears and fades without sound, spreading over skin in patterns that feel intentional even when they change in an instant. There is no pause between perception and response. The body adjusts as naturally as breathing, guided by mechanisms woven directly into the skin. At the surface lie chromatophores, tiny sacs of pigment surrounded by rings of muscle. When these muscles tighten, the sacs expand, revealing color. When they relax, the pigment withdraws and disappears. Thousands of these cells work together, opening and closing in carefully timed sequences. Beneath them, layers of reflective cells shift brightness and sheen, adding depth and variation without altering pigment itself. The result is not simply color, but texture, contrast, and illusion. These changes occur with remarkable speed. Patterns ripple across the body in fractions of a second, faster than conscious deliberation. A modeled surface becomes smooth. Dark patches dissolve into pale stone. The transformation feels fluid rather than mechanical, as if the skin were thinking for itself. Precision replaces excess. Each adjustment matches the immediate surroundings with care. Camouflage in an octopus is not a blanket of sameness. It is selective and specific. The body does not copy the environment exactly. It interprets it. Edges are emphasized where shadows fall. Brightness shifts to mirror the way light moves across sand or rock. The pattern responds to space, depth, and motion rather than surface detail alone. Even when perfectly still, the octopus reflects the rhythm of what surrounds it. This accuracy reveals that camouflage is guided by information, not chance. The nervous system coordinates pigment changes in response to visual and sensory input, aligning skin with context. The animal chooses when to blend fully and when to remain distinct. Some patterns announce presence through bold contrast, others erase it entirely. Each choice reflects situation rather than habit. The absence of randomness becomes clearer over time. The same individual repeats similar patterns in similar settings. A rocky landscape elicits broken textures. Open sand invites smooth gradients. These responses are consistent, shaped by both inherited capacity and learned association. The skin remembers what works and returns to it when conditions match. Camouflage also carries meaning beyond concealment. Subtle shifts signal readiness, caution, or calm. Even without sound or gesture, the body communicates through color and pattern. These messages are not decorative, they are functional, tuned to the needs of the moment and the presence of others nearby. In this way, color becomes language expressed through flesh. It flows outward from internal state and environmental reading at the same time. The octopus does not wear its camouflage. It becomes it. Each change is a quiet negotiation between body and world, proving that even the most fleeting patterns are shaped by intention, precision, and deep attention to place. Texture arrives quietly, as if the skin were remembering something it once touched. Where smoothness existed moments before, small peaks begin to rise. Soft flesh lifts into ridges and bumps, forming contours that echo stone, coral, or uneven sand. Nothing external presses these shapes into being. The body reshapes itself from within, guided by layers of muscle embedded directly beneath the skin. These changes are controlled by structures called papillae, flexible projections that can extend or flatten at will. Each papilla is moved by fine muscles that respond with precision, lifting the surface into rough relief or smoothing it back into silence. The transformation is gradual or sudden, depending on need. The skin becomes three-dimensional, no longer just a canvas of color, but a sculpted form that catches light and shadow the way the environment does. Color alone is rarely enough. A brown body against a brown rock still stands out if its surface remains smooth. Texture completes the illusion. Raised skin breaks up outlines, interrupts reflections, and softens edges. The octopus understands this without deliberation. Shape shifts to match not only what surrounds it, but how those surroundings feel to the eye and to passing water. These textures are not static replicas. They respond to movement as much as to place. In a field of waving algae, the skin may rise and fall subtly, echoing the rhythm of the current. Against broken coral, papillae lift irregularly, forming an uneven surface that resists easy recognition. The body does not freeze itself into the scenery. It participates in it. Blending into motion requires timing rather than stillness. The octopus adjusts texture in response to flow, shadow, and proximity. A passing fish alters the light. A shift in current changes how surfaces appear. The skin responds continuously, maintaining harmony with change rather than clinging to a fixed disguise. Camouflage becomes a living process rather than a static mask. This responsiveness reveals how deeply integrated perception and action are within the body. Texture changes do not wait for conscious instruction. They emerge as part of the same system that governs posture and movement. The arms settle, the mantle relaxes or tightens. Skin follows suit, rising or smoothing as needed. Each adjustment reinforces the others, creating a unified presence that feels natural rather than constructed. Shape matters because predators and prey alike notice disruption before detail. A familiar outline, broken into irregular forms, becomes difficult to isolate. The octopus uses this principle intuitively. By altering texture, it dissolves the boundaries that define it as separate. The body becomes suggestion rather than object. When danger passes or movement resumes, the skin releases its shapes. Papillae flatten, surfaces smooth. Nothing remains of the transformation except its effect. Texture appears and disappears without residue, another temporary state in a body designed for change. In this quiet ability to sculpt itself moment by moment, the octopus demonstrates that survival often depends not on standing out or hiding completely, but on becoming indistinct within the motion of the world itself. An octopus speaks without sound. Its body carries meaning through posture and pattern, through subtle changes that unfold across skin and arms. Nothing is announced. Nothing is shouted. Communication emerges as a quiet arrangement of form and motion, readable only to those who know how to look. When another animal approaches, the octopus does not rely on noise to mark its presence. The body shifts instead. Arms lift or curl inward. The mantle tightens or relaxes. Color deepens or fades. These adjustments happen together, forming a signal that travels outward without leaving the body. The message exists only in what is shown. Threat displays are among the clearest expressions. Dark pigments spread suddenly across the skin. Patterns sharpen. The body grows larger through extension rather than force. Arms rise and widen the silhouette, creating an impression of scale that was not there moments before. This display does not require contact. It warns by appearance alone, asking for distance through visibility rather than aggression. Curiosity takes a different shape. Colors soften, patterns become fluid, arms extend slowly, not to seize but to sense. The body leans toward the unknown with measured movement. Nothing about this posture suggests urgency. It communicates openness, a readiness to engage without commitment. The message is subtle, yet consistent enough to be recognized. Warnings can be brief and restrained. A quick flash of contrast, a sudden stiffening of posture. These signals appear and disappear within seconds, leaving no trace once the moment passes. They do not escalate unless necessary. The octopus prefers clarity without excess, offering just enough information to influence the behavior of others. This form of communication depends on visibility rather than audibility. It travels through light and motion, shaped by the surrounding environment. A signal that works in open water may soften near the seafloor. Patterns adjust to remain readable without becoming conspicuous. Meaning is always balanced against risk. There is no language here in the human sense, no symbols detached from action. Every signal is embodied. It cannot be separated from the body that produces it. Color means nothing without posture. Movement means little without context. Communication remains inseparable from presence. This system does not require an audience of many. Even in a solitary life, signaling matters. Predators read it. Rivals read it. Occasional mates read it. The octopus prepares its messages without knowing who will receive them. Expression exists because interaction exists, even when encounters are rare. Meaning without noise carries a certain efficiency. It avoids attention while remaining effective. It allows the octopus to negotiate space and intent without revealing location through sound. In a world where vibration travels far, silence protects. Through posture, color, and movement, the octopus maintains a dialogue with its surroundings. Nothing is spoken, yet information flows. The sea remains quiet, but it is not empty of conversation. On the ocean floor, objects do not remain separate from intention. A half shell resting in sand becomes more than debris when an octopus encounters it. Arms gather the curved pieces carefully, drawing them close without urgency. The body settles around the load and begins to move, not fleeing and not feeding, but transporting something that will matter later. This behavior unfolds slowly enough to be unmistakable. Coconut shells, stones, and fragments of human refuse are lifted and carried across open ground. The octopus does not use them immediately. It moves with them held beneath the body, awkward but persistent, crossing spaces where shelter is absent. Each step reveals effort chosen rather than forced. The object is a burden accepted for what it will provide. When the octopus reaches a suitable place, the pieces are arranged. Shells are positioned with openings aligned. Debris is shifted until gaps disappear. The body slips inside and becomes still. What was once scattered becomes structure. A temporary shelter appears, not grown or excavated, but assembled. When danger passes, the octopus emerges, sometimes leaving the materials behind, sometimes gathering them again for another journey. This use of tools is quiet and unannounced. There is no dramatic manipulation or repeated display. The significance lies in timing. Carrying an object now to solve a problem later suggests a form of foresight that does not rely on habit alone. The octopus responds not just to present conditions, but to anticipated need, shaping future safety through present action. Such behavior is rare across animals. Many species use objects directly in the moment, breaking or probing or striking. Far fewer transport items for deferred use. This rarity reflects the demands such behavior places on memory, coordination, and flexibility. The animal must recognize an object as useful, retain that recognition across distance and time, and endure vulnerability while carrying it. In the octopus, these demands are met without social learning or imitation. No elder demonstrates the value of a shell. No group reinforces the behavior. Each individual arrives at the solution alone, guided by experience rather than tradition. Tool use emerges as a personal discovery rather than a cultural inheritance. The ocean floor itself encourages this ingenuity. Shelter is unevenly distributed. Open sand offers no protection. The ability to create refuge where none exists becomes an advantage. The octopus adapts by treating the environment as a collection of possibilities rather than fixed features. Objects are not static. They can be repositioned, combined, and repurposed. This behavior fits seamlessly within the octopus way of being. A body already accustomed to reshaping itself extends that flexibility outward. Just as skin becomes texture and arms become bridges, loose materials become shelter. The boundary between organism and environment softens. Tool use here is not a sign of dominance over surroundings. It is an act of alignment. The octopus does not change the world permanently. It borrows what is available, assembles what is needed, and moves on. In this gentle interaction, intelligence expresses itself not through conquest or accumulation, but through quiet preparation and temporary refuge, shaped for a moment and then released back into the sea. Boundaries mean little to an octopus. Walls, lids, and clear panels do not register as final statements, only as surfaces that invite inspection. In contained spaces, the animal moves along edges with patient attention, arms tracing seams and corners as if reading the structure with touch alone. The enclosure becomes another environment to explore rather than a limit to accept. Escape begins quietly. A lid shifts slightly under careful pressure. A gap widens just enough. Arms slip through first, testing, withdrawing, then committing. The body follows in a slow, controlled flow. Water spills softly. Nothing crashes or announces itself. When the octopus leaves its tank, it does so without urgency, as if the choice were obvious rather than daring. Some journeys are brief. The animal explores nearby surfaces, tasting textures unfamiliar to water-bound life. It moves across floors with awkward grace, arms coordinating to lift and pull. Afterward, it returns, reversing the path with equal care. The lid is replaced. The tank appears unchanged. Only subtle signs remain, damp edges or displaced objects that hint at movement unseen. These behaviors do not align neatly with hunger or threat. Food may remain untouched. Danger may be absent. The motivation seems to lie elsewhere, in a persistent drive to know what lies beyond the immediate space. Curiosity takes precedence over caution. The octopus accepts temporary vulnerability in exchange for experience. This exploration is methodical rather than reckless. The animal does not fling itself outward blindly. It pauses, tests, remembers. Routes once used are revisited with confidence. Obstacles previously overcome are approached with familiarity. Memory guides movement. Each successful escape becomes part of a growing internal map. The willingness to leave safety behind challenges simple explanations. Survival alone does not require such risk. Shelter is already available. Resources are present, yet the octopus continues to explore. The behavior suggests a need to engage with novelty, to extend awareness beyond what is necessary for immediate survival. In natural environments, this tendency translates into broad-ranging movement across the seafloor. Crevices are entered, objects are investigated, open ground is crossed despite exposure. The same pattern appears, whether the space is artificial or wild. The octopus treats the world as something to be understood rather than merely endured. This drive reshapes how intelligence is expressed. It is not confined to solving problems presented by necessity. It generates its own challenges. Exploration becomes a way of gathering information that may or may not be useful later. The animal invests energy without guarantee of reward, guided by an internal pull toward discovery. Returning unnoticed completes the pattern. The octopus does not abandon its refuge permanently. It comes back altered only by experience. The environment remains largely unchanged. What shifts is the animal's relationship to it. Boundaries become permeable. Possibility expands. In these quiet acts of escape and return, motivation reveals itself as more than survival. The octopus moves not only to eat or hide, but to know. Exploration becomes an expression of intelligence that values contact with the unknown, even when safety would allow stillness. Memory settles quietly in the octopus, not as a story recalled, but as a readiness to act. An encounter ends, the moment passes, and yet something remains. The body carries forward a trace of what worked and what did not, holding it beneath awareness until the next time it is needed. Short-lived experiences leave marks that persist beyond their immediate usefulness. A container opened once is approached differently days later. The arms move with fewer pauses. The sequence unfolds with a confidence that was not present before. Nothing about the object has changed. What has changed is the relationship to it. The solution waits within the nervous system, dormant until contact awakens it. This persistence extends beyond minutes or hours. Observations show that octopuses return to learned tasks after long intervals with little loss of efficiency. Paths through complex spaces are remembered. Hazards encountered once are avoided later. The animal does not relearn from the beginning. It resumes from where it left off, as if time had softened but not erased the impression. Such memory forms without repetition or reinforcement from others. There is no reminder offered by a companion and no shared practice to strengthen recall. The octopus relies on its own experience alone. Each memory is earned individually and stored privately. The nervous system preserves these traces despite the brevity of life. This raises a quiet contrast. The octopus grows quickly, lives briefly, and leaves no knowledge behind. Each generation begins again, and yet within a single lifetime, memory is carefully maintained. This suggests that memory serves not legacy, but immediacy. It exists to improve the quality of ongoing interaction rather than to build a future beyond the individual. Short-term memory allows rapid adjustment. A failed attempt informs the next movement. A brief discomfort redirects exploration. These fleeting impressions guide behavior in the moment, shaping actions second by second. Long-term memory extends this guidance across days, allowing the animal to carry forward lessons that reduce risk and effort over time. The cost of memory is not trivial. Neural tissue demands energy. Maintaining stored information requires resources that could be spent elsewhere. In an animal with a fast metabolism and limited lifespan, this investment signals importance. Memory offers a return that outweighs its cost. It reduces uncertainty. It smooths interaction. It allows the octopus to act with precision in a world that shifts constantly. Memory also integrates seamlessly with other forms of intelligence already present. Problem solving becomes faster. Exploration becomes more directed. Even curiosity gains structure, guided by what has been encountered before. The octopus does not wander aimlessly. It moves with a sense of familiarity layered onto novelty. In a life without teaching, memory becomes the sole thread of continuity. It links past action to present choice without ceremony or reflection. Experience is not narrated or analyzed. It is absorbed. When the octopus acts again, the memory speaks through movement rather than thought. In this way, memory outlasts experience itself. The moment fades, but its influence remains, shaping behavior long after the original context has dissolved. For an animal that lives quickly and alone, memory provides stability without permanence, a quiet persistence that allows intelligence to deepen even within the narrow span of a single life. Energy moves quickly through an octopus. From the moment it begins life, growth unfolds at a pace that feels compressed, as if time itself has been tightened. The body expands rapidly, tissues developing with urgency rather than patience. There is little delay between form and function. The octopus becomes capable almost as soon as it exists. This speed carries a cost. Metabolism runs high, fueled by constant intake and continuous processing. Muscles, skin, and nervous tissue demand steady energy. Nothing about the body is idle. Even rest is active, with systems maintaining readiness beneath stillness. The octopus lives in a state of ongoing expenditure, converting food into motion, perception, and response without pause. Rapid growth allows the animal to reach functional size quickly, reducing vulnerability during early life. Yet the same process limits how long the body can be sustained. Cells divide fast. Systems operate near capacity. Wear accumulates. There is no slow reserve meant to last decades. Longevity is not the priority. Effectiveness in the present moment is. Intelligence fits into this balance. Neural tissue is among the most energy demanding in any organism. In the octopus, it occupies a large portion of available resources. Learning, memory, and sensory integration all draw from the same energetic pool that supports movement and camouflage. Every solved problem and remembered pattern carries a metabolic price. The trade is clear but quiet. A body built for speed cannot also be built for endurance. The octopus invests in flexibility, awareness, and rapid adaptation, accepting a shorter lifespan in return. Intelligence does not extend life here, it intensifies it. The animal gains the ability to respond with nuance and creativity, even if that ability burns brightly rather than steadily. This design shapes behavior. There is little hesitation. Exploration happens readily. Learning unfolds quickly. The octopus does not defer experience to a distant future. It gathers information and uses it immediately. Memory serves present action rather than long-term planning. The body does not prepare for old age. It prepares for the next moment. Living quickly also means living precisely. Mistakes carry greater cost when time is limited. The octopus compensates by refining behavior through experience. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to reduce waste, to act more efficiently next time. Intelligence and metabolism align toward the same goal, making the most of a brief window. This pattern echoes across the animal's life. Growth is fast, reproduction comes early, decline follows soon after. There is no extended plateau of stability. Instead, there is a rise, a peak of capability, and a swift descent. The arc is steep but complete. Seen this way, the octopus is not fragile. It is focused. Its life history reflects a strategy tuned to environments where adaptability matters more than persistence. Energy flows rapidly into action, perception, and change. Longevity is sacrificed not by accident but by design. In this fast, costly metabolism, intelligence becomes an intensifier rather than a safeguard. It sharpens experience, deepens interaction, and accelerates learning within a compressed lifespan. The octopus lives quickly because it must, and because its body is built to turn energy into awareness before time runs out. Circulation in an octopus moves with an unfamiliar rhythm. Beneath the mantle, 3 hearts work together, each with a specific role that reflects a life shaped for stillness, punctuated by sudden action. 2 of these hearts sit near the gills, pushing blood through delicate respiratory tissue. The 3rd heart serves the rest of the body, sending oxygen outward to arms, skin, and muscle. The blood they move carries oxygen in a different way than most familiar animals. Instead of iron-based hemoglobin, octopus blood relies on hemocyanin, a copper-containing molecule that binds oxygen efficiently in cold and low oxygen conditions. This chemistry gives the blood its deep blue color, visible when vessels lie close to the surface. It also changes how oxygen is delivered. Hemocyanin releases oxygen more readily at lower temperatures, making it well suited to the varied depths and cool waters the octopus often inhabits. This system functions best when the animal is calm. When resting or creeping slowly along the seafloor, oxygen transport remains steady and efficient. The gill hearts maintain a smooth flow through the respiratory surfaces. The systemic heart distributes that oxygen without strain. Energy use remains controlled, matched to slow movement and careful observation. Swimming alters this balance. When the octopus propels itself by forcefully expelling water through its siphon, pressure inside the mantle cavity rises. This pressure interferes with blood returning to the gill hearts. As a result, those two hearts slow or temporarily stop. Circulation becomes less effective precisely when demand increases. Oxygen delivery drops. Fatigue sets in quickly. This is why the octopus rarely swims for long distances. Movement through open water is costly and inefficient. Instead, the animal favors crawling, gliding, and short bursts of jet propulsion used only when necessary. The circulatory system does not support endurance. It supports patience followed by speed. Every aspect of this design points toward ambush rather than pursuit. The octopus waits. It blends. It remains still while hearts work quietly beneath the skin. When the moment arrives, action is brief and decisive. A rapid strike, a swift retreat. Then stillness returns, allowing circulation to recover. The blue blood itself reinforces this strategy. Hemocyanin is less efficient than hemoglobin at carrying oxygen at higher temperatures or during sustained exertion. It excels instead in calm, cool conditions where oxygen is scarce but demand is moderate. The octopus fits its environment not by overpowering it, but by matching its tempo. This physiology shapes behavior without conscious choice. The octopus does not decide to avoid long swims. Its body makes that decision through fatigue and recovery. Intelligence adapts around these limits, favoring strategies that minimize prolonged exertion. Camouflage, problem solving, and patience become essential tools because raw stamina is not available. 3 hearts and blue blood are not curiosities added onto an otherwise familiar animal. They are central to how the octopus exists. Circulation sets the pace of life, encouraging stillness, precision, and sudden motion rather than constant activity. Built this way, the octopus thrives not by enduring long effort, but by choosing the exact moment when effort matters most. Solitude is not a consequence for the octopus, it is the starting condition. From early life onward, space is kept wide and encounters are brief. Other octopuses are not companions to seek out, but presences to avoid. Paths cross rarely, and when they do, separation follows quickly. The ocean offers enough complexity without sharing it. There are no groups to join and no roles to assume. No hierarchy forms and no cooperation develops. Each octopus occupies its own territory, defined loosely by familiarity rather than defense. The absence of social structure is not marked by conflict or failure. It is simply how life unfolds. Intelligence grows without needing to accommodate others. This solitude shapes behavior at every level. Decisions are made without reference to group dynamics. Exploration serves personal understanding rather than collective benefit. There is no signaling meant to strengthen bonds or coordinate action. Communication remains situational, brief, and limited to moments of overlap. Once the encounter ends, nothing remains to maintain. Without cooperation, problem solving becomes self-contained. The octopus cannot rely on shared vigilance or collective memory. Every risk is faced alone. Every solution must be discovered individually. This isolation sharpens attention to the environment itself. Rocks, currents, shadows, and objects become the only consistent points of reference. The world replaces society as the primary partner in interaction. Intelligence in this context does not aim toward consensus or teaching. It aims toward competence. The octopus learns how to open, hide, escape, and adapt without watching another succeed or fail. Experience accumulates privately, shaping behavior without being reinforced by imitation. Knowledge remains internal and transient, existing only for the duration of a single life. This form of intelligence lacks the stabilizing influence of tradition. Nothing is passed down. Each individual begins without inherited solutions beyond instinct, and yet complexity emerges. The nervous system compensates for isolation by becoming flexible, responsive, and inventive. Intelligence does not depend on social feedback to refine itself. It relies instead on constant adjustment to an unpredictable environment. The absence of hierarchy removes certain pressures. There is no competition for rank and no need to display status. Energy is directed inward and outward toward the environment rather than sideways toward peers. The octopus does not measure itself against others. It measures the world against its own abilities. Solitary intelligence also avoids certain risks. Disease spreads less easily. Conflict remains limited. Resources are not depleted by coordinated use. Independence offers stability through separation rather than cohesion. The octopus thrives not by joining forces, but by remaining adaptable and self-sufficient. Seen this way, intelligence does not require social scaffolding. It does not need language, cooperation, or shared goals to develop depth. The octopus demonstrates that a mind can become sophisticated while remaining alone, shaped entirely by direct engagement with surroundings rather than by interaction with its own kind. In the quiet spaces between encounters, intelligence continues to unfold. It refines movement, memory, and perception without witnesses. Solitary living does not diminish cognition, it redirects it. The octopus stands as an example of awareness that grows inward and outward at the same time, proving that intelligence can exist fully formed without ever becoming social. Reproduction arrives late in an octopus life, not as a beginning, but as a turning point. Until then, the body has been devoted to growth, exploration, and precise interaction with the world. When mating occurs, a subtle internal shift follows, quiet and irreversible. Nothing dramatic announces it. The change begins at a chemical level, unseen but decisive. Hormones released after reproduction alter the balance that once sustained the body. Signals that supported appetite, repair, and coordination begin to fade. Others rise in their place, directing energy away from survival and toward a final task. In females, attention narrows to the eggs. In males, activity diminishes and interest in the surrounding world softens. The nervous system responds as if a different program has been activated. This switch does not resemble illness or injury. It follows a consistent pattern observed across species. After mating, feeding declines. Movements slow. The body becomes less responsive. What once required effort to suppress now happens automatically. The octopus does not struggle against the change. It unfolds steadily, guided by internal instruction rather than external force. For females, the transformation is especially focused. Eggs are guarded continuously, cleaned and aerated with careful movement. During this time, the mother does not leave to hunt. Physical condition declines as stored energy is consumed. Muscles weaken, skin loses its former responsiveness. The body gives itself entirely to protection, maintaining vigilance until the eggs hatch. Once reproduction is complete, there is no return. Survival no longer serves a purpose within this life strategy. The genes have been passed on. Continued existence would require energy, better invested elsewhere. Evolution favors completion over continuation. The body follows through. This pattern can feel deliberate because of its precision. The shutdown does not happen randomly or unevenly. It progresses in an orderly sequence, as if guided by a timetable. Systems fail gently rather than catastrophically. Coordination fades. awareness narrows. Eventually, the body can no longer sustain itself. From a biological perspective, this strategy removes competition between generations. Parents do not consume resources needed by offspring. Space becomes available. The next life begins without interference. In environments where survival depends on efficiency, this clarity has value. The collapse also reflects the broader design of the octopus life. Intelligence, adaptability, and speed have already been fully expressed. There is no long decline into reduced capacity. The peak is sharp and complete. When it ends fully. This does not suggest despair or sacrifice in a human sense. It is alignment. The body follows a path shaped over millions of years, one that prioritizes transmission over preservation. The octopus does not cling to life once its role is finished. It completes the cycle and releases itself from it. In this way, mating is not just reproduction, it is conclusion, a final transition that closes one life cleanly so another can begin, guided by chemistry rather than choice, and carried out with a quiet certainty that feels intentional because it is so exact. The female octopus settles into stillness long before her strength fades. Once the eggs are laid, they are gathered into careful strands and secured within a sheltered space, often a den chosen for its quiet flow of water. From that moment, her world contracts. Movement becomes minimal. Attention narrows to what hangs before her, pale and translucent, pulsing softly with developing life. She does not leave to feed. Arms that once explored now tend. Each egg is cleaned with gentle passes, debris removed with patient precision. Water is drawn across them again and again, ensuring a steady exchange of oxygen. The rhythm of care is constant and unbroken. Hours blur into days, days stretch into weeks. The outside world recedes. As time passes, the cost becomes visible. Muscle tone softens. Skin loses some of its former responsiveness. The body that once shifted effortlessly now moves only when necessary. Hunger signals arise but are not acted upon. The drive to protect overrides the drive to consume. Energy is redirected inward, then outward, sustaining vigilance rather than the self. This decline is not sudden. It unfolds gradually, almost gently. The mother remains alert, even as strength wanes. If disturbed, she responds with what remains, posture tightening briefly, color adjusting, arms positioning protectively. There is no confusion in her behavior. The purpose remains clear, even as capacity diminishes. Egg guarding demands constancy. Leaving even briefly would expose the clutch to currents, predators, or sediment. The mother becomes the barrier that keeps the environment at bay. Her presence regulates conditions more reliably than any structure could. In this role, the body is both guardian and gate. During this period, the nervous system continues to operate with focus despite physical decline. Attention does not drift, care does not lapse, the mother does not abandon the task as resources fall. The process continues until the eggs darken and movement appears within them, a subtle sign that development nears completion. When the young hatch, they drift away almost immediately, carried by water into a world the mother will never re-enter. There is no recognition or interaction. The care offered was never meant to be reciprocated. It was meant to be complete. After hatching, the remaining energy dissipates quickly. The body can no longer maintain coordination. Skin dulls. Movement becomes erratic, then sparse. The decline that began quietly reaches its conclusion. Death follows not as a sudden event, but as the final easing of a system that has finished its work. This form of care does not extend life, it consumes it. The mother gives everything, without expectation of survival or connection beyond the moment of protection. The strategy ensures that the next generation begins with the best possible chance, even as the current one ends. In this way, maternal care in octopuses is absolute. It is not balanced against self-preservation. It replaces it. The body becomes a vessel for protection until nothing remains to sustain it. Care and death are not separate outcomes here. They are parts of the same continuous act, carried out with quiet precision until the task is complete. Decline begins not with collapse, but with subtle misalignment. Movements that once flowed together start to arrive slightly out of time. An arm hesitates where it would have acted smoothly before. Posture loses its quiet precision. These changes are small at first, almost unnoticeable, but they mark the beginning of a process written into the nervous system itself. Coordination fades unevenly. Signals still travel, yet their timing no longer aligns perfectly. The distributed network that once balanced autonomy and unity begins to loosen its internal agreements. Arms respond a moment late. Adjustments overshoot or fall short. The body remains active, but the harmony that guided action grows thinner with each passing day. This deterioration does not stem from injury or exhaustion alone. It follows a programmed sequence triggered earlier in the life cycle. Chemical signals shift priorities within neural tissue, altering how neurons communicate and maintain themselves. Pathways that once supported learning and coordination begin to withdraw resources. Maintenance slows. Repair ceases. The system turns inward, no longer investing in its own preservation. Loss of control emerges gradually. Reflexes persist longer than intention. Automatic responses outlast deliberate ones. An arm may still withdraw from touch, yet fail to integrate with the rest of the body afterward. The nervous system fragments not by breaking apart, but by losing coherence. Unity dissolves into isolated reactions. As deterioration advances, sensory processing becomes less reliable. Signals arrive, but are no longer interpreted with the same clarity. The body continues to sense the world, but responses become mismatched. Movement follows sensation without refinement. The intelligence that once shaped behavior recedes, leaving behind a simpler pattern of reaction. This shutdown is not chaotic. It unfolds in a consistent order observed across individuals. Higher-level coordination fades first. Local reflexes remain longer. The most basic neural functions persist until the end, maintaining breathing and minimal movement even as complex behavior disappears. The nervous system dismantles itself layer by layer, releasing functions in reverse order of their development. From the outside, this can appear like confusion or distress. Internally, it is alignment with a final directive. The body is not failing randomly. It is following instructions encoded deep within its biology. The same precision that once supported rapid learning and adaptation now guides an orderly withdrawal. The distributed nature of the octopus nervous system shapes this ending. There is no single switch to flip, no central command that shuts everything down at once. Instead, decline spreads across the network, each region responding to changing internal conditions. Awareness fades gradually, not extinguished but thinned until it can no longer organize experience. Shut down from within reflects the broader design of the octopus life. Systems are built for intensity rather than longevity. When their purpose is fulfilled, they are released. The nervous system does not resist this release. It participates in it. In this final stage, intelligence does not disappear abruptly. It dissolves. The capacity for coordination, memory, and choice gives way to simpler patterns, then to stillness. What remains is not disorder, but completion, a living system concluding its work according to a plan shaped long before the individual existed, carried out quietly until the last connections fall silent. Recognition arrives slowly in science, often after years of careful observation. In the case of octopuses, attention shifted when reactions to injury and disturbance revealed more than simple reflex. The body does not merely withdraw, it changes its behavior over time, avoiding places associated with harm and altering how it interacts with objects that caused discomfort. These adjustments persist, suggesting experience rather than momentary response. Pain in an octopus is not loud or dramatic. It is expressed through prolonged guarding of an injured arm, reduced use of affected areas, and shifts in posture that last well beyond the initial event. The animal remembers what caused the damage and behaves differently afterward. Such patterns point toward an internal state that extends past immediate sensation. Awareness lingers. Physiological evidence supports this picture. Neural pathways associated with nociception respond to harmful stimuli, and their activity can be reduced by substances known to alleviate pain in other animals. This modulation changes behavior, not just movement. The octopus becomes more willing to explore again, more balanced in posture, more engaged with its surroundings. The change suggests relief rather than suppression. As these findings accumulated, they began to influence how octopuses were treated in scientific settings. Research guidelines expanded to include protections once reserved for vertebrates. Procedures now require justification, minimization of harm, and consideration of recovery. An animal once regarded as an object of study became recognized as a subject of experience. These changes mark a quiet shift in ethical boundaries. Sentience is no longer defined solely by similarity to humans or other mammals. Instead, it is inferred from behavior, learning, and the presence of internal states that shape future action. The octopus challenges older frameworks by demonstrating complex awareness without familiar anatomy or social structure. This reevaluation does not rest on sentiment. It rests on evidence, gathered patiently, often reluctantly, over decades. The conclusion emerged not from a single experiment, but from convergence. Memory, learning, problem-solving, and responses to harm all point in the same direction. The octopus experiences its world in a way that matters to it. Redefining sentience broadens the moral landscape. It invites consideration of minds that evolved along different paths. Intelligence need not resemble our own to be meaningful. Awareness does not require fur, faces, or voices. It can reside in bodies that feel unfamiliar and systems that operate without central control. Ethics follows understanding. As science uncovers the depth of octopus experience, responsibility expands accordingly. Care becomes part of inquiry rather than an obstacle to it. Observation proceeds with restraint, acknowledging that the subject is not inert. This recognition does not elevate the octopus above other life. It places it more clearly within a continuum of experience. Pain, awareness, and response are not exclusive traits. They appear wherever nervous systems support them. The octopus reminds us that sentience is not a narrow category. It is a wide field, shaped by evolution in many forms, deserving attention wherever it appears. Thought in an octopus does not gather into words. It unfolds through movement, through contact with surfaces, through the timing of actions that adjust in response to the world. There is no inner narration and no symbolic layer separating experience from response. What exists is a direct continuity between sensing and doing, a mind expressed through behavior rather than language. When an octopus encounters a problem, it does not pause to represent it internally. Arms move, grip changes, pressure increases or softens. Each adjustment carries information forward. The solution emerges from interaction itself, shaped by feedback that arrives instantly through touch and resistance. Understanding takes the form of successful motion rather than abstract description. Without words, there are no concepts held apart from experience. The octopus does not label objects or categorize them by name. A shell is not an idea. It is weight, curvature, texture, and possibility. Knowledge is stored as readiness, as patterns of action that can be reactivated when similar conditions arise. Memory does not recall. It prepares. This form of intelligence remains grounded in the present. Planning occurs through sequence rather than projection. One action sets up the next. The body stays attentive to outcome, adjusting continuously. There is no need to imagine a distant future in detail. Anticipation is built into posture and movement, not into narrative thought. Behavior carries meaning because it is the only medium available. The octopus communicates with the world by acting within it. Learning happens when action produces a favorable result, and that result is retained as a tendency. Over time, these tendencies accumulate into complex capability without ever becoming explicit rules. This does not limit intelligence, it reshapes it. A mind without language avoids certain constraints. It is not bound to consistency of explanation or internal coherence of story. It can change course without contradiction. It can abandon one approach and adopt another without reconciling them symbolically. Flexibility replaces justification. The absence of language also means the absence of shared meaning. Knowledge cannot be taught or transferred. Each individual constructs its own understanding anew. Intelligence remains private and transient, existing only as long as the body that carries it. Yet within that span, it reaches remarkable depth. This challenges familiar measures of cognition. Intelligence is often associated with abstraction, planning, and symbolic reasoning. The octopus demonstrates another path. Effective thought can exist entirely within action. Understanding can be embodied rather than spoken. A mind can be sophisticated without ever forming concepts detached from movement. In this system, thinking is not something that happens before action. It is something that happens as action. The distinction dissolves. Arms explore and decide simultaneously. The body becomes the site where cognition occurs, distributed and immediate. This is a different kind of mind, one that does not translate experience into language before responding, one that does not store knowledge as symbols, but as capacity. It reveals that intelligence does not require words to exist. It requires only the ability to engage with the world, adapt to it, and change through that engagement. Curiosity in an octopus unfolds without inheritance. When a new life begins, nothing is passed along except the capacity to explore. There are no shared paths worn smooth by generations, no accumulated knowledge waiting to be received. Each individual enters the world alone, carrying no memory beyond what the body itself can discover. Exploration begins immediately. Arms reach outward, tracing surfaces that have never been touched before. Openings are tested, objects are handled, released, and handled again. These actions are not guided by tradition or example. They arise from an internal drive to engage with the environment directly. The world presents itself as entirely new, even if countless octopuses have moved through it before. Without culture, knowledge cannot travel across lives. A successful solution vanishes when the individual that discovered it disappears. The next octopus does not benefit from that past experience. It must learn again how containers open, how shelters form, how danger announces itself. Intelligence does not accumulate at the level of the species. It resets. This absence of transfer creates a strange contrast. Within a single lifetime, learning can be rapid and flexible. Across generations, nothing builds. There are no traditions, no refinements passed down, no shared strategies that persist. Each life stands complete and isolated, its intelligence bright but temporary. Curiosity becomes the engine that compensates for this loss. The octopus cannot rely on inherited solutions, so it must investigate continuously. Exploration fills the gap left by culture. It allows the animal to adapt quickly to whatever environment it encounters, even when conditions differ dramatically from those faced by its predecessors. This process favors versatility over specialization. The octopus does not evolve rigid behavioral scripts. Instead, it evolves the ability to learn efficiently. Intelligence is expressed as adaptability rather than accumulation. Each individual reinvents what it needs to know, guided by sensation, memory, and experimentation. The cost of this approach is repetition. The same discoveries are made again and again across generations. The benefit is resilience. When environments change, there is no outdated tradition to constrain behavior. Every octopus meets its world without expectation. The absence of culture prevents stagnation. This pattern also shapes how intelligence is measured. Success is not defined by progress over time, but by effectiveness in the present. The octopus does not build monuments of knowledge. It builds momentary competence. What matters is not what the species remembers, but what the individual can manage now. In this way, intelligence becomes ephemeral. It exists fully only while the body that carries it remains alive. When that body ends, the intelligence ends with it. Nothing is recorded. Nothing is taught. The next life begins again, with empty hands and open arms. Yet this does not diminish the richness of the mind that forms. It highlights a different strategy for thinking, one that values immediate engagement over legacy, one that reinvents itself continuously rather than extending itself across time. Curiosity without culture reveals intelligence as a process rather than a product. It is something that happens anew each generation, shaped by the same world but never by the same mind. The octopus stands as proof that learning does not require continuity to be profound. It only requires the willingness to explore again and again from the beginning. There is a moment when watching an octopus that feels oddly intimate. The movement makes sense. The pause before action feels measured. The solution arrives with a quiet logic that resembles intention. And yet the body performing these acts remains entirely unfamiliar. The recognition arrives without comfort. An octopus solves problems in ways that echo our own expectations of intelligence. It experiments, adjusts, remembers, and refines. The sequence feels purposeful. Cause leads to effect. Error leads to correction. These patterns are easy to recognize because they mirror processes we associate with thinking. What unsettles is not the intelligence itself, but where it appears. The body carrying this intelligence does not resemble the forms we associate with minds. There is no face arranged for expression, no limbs shaped for grasping in familiar ways, no posture that signals emotion through inherited cues. The octopus thinks through arms that taste, skin that sees, and movement that flows rather than steps. The mind feels present, but the vessel does not align with expectation. This creates a tension between recognition and resemblance. We see behavior that suggests awareness, yet we cannot anchor it to familiar anatomy. The mind seems to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Intelligence moves through limbs instead of residing behind eyes. Decision emerges through motion rather than declaration. The result feels close and distant at the same time. Discomfort arises from this mismatch. The octopus disrupts the quiet rule that intelligence should look a certain way. We are accustomed to associating minds with symmetry, faces, and voices. When those markers are absent, recognition becomes unstable. We sense intention, but cannot easily locate it. The experience resists categorization. This unease does not stem from threat, it stems from difference layered over familiarity. The octopus does not behave randomly or mechanically, it behaves thoughtfully. That thoughtfulness unfolds through a form that challenges our internal models of cognition. The mind feels present, but its shape remains unreadable. Such encounters reveal how deeply perception is shaped by expectation. We rely on resemblance to make sense of others. When resemblance fails, even understanding can feel strange. The octopus exposes this reliance by offering intelligence without any of the usual signals that reassure us. The feeling lingers because it touches something fundamental. If intelligence can exist here, organized so differently, then our definitions are narrower than reality. The octopus becomes a mirror that reflects our assumptions rather than our image. It shows that recognition does not require similarity, and that understanding can exist without comfort. Discomfort through difference is not rejection, it is adjustment. The mind recalibrates in the presence of something that does not fit inherited categories. The octopus invites this recalibration simply by existing, by thinking in a body that refuses familiar outlines. In that quiet, unsettling presence, the octopus reminds us that intelligence is not obligated to resemble us. It only needs to function, and when it does, even through forms that feel alien, recognition still arrives, carrying with it a sense of wonder that is edged with unease, because it expands the boundaries of what a thinking being can be. Evolution does not move toward a single destination. It explores. It tests possibilities quietly, over spans of time too large to feel. Intelligence emerges not as a goal, but as one of many outcomes shaped by pressure, chance, and constraint. The octopus represents one such outcome, distinct and fully formed, arrived at without reference to our own. Across the living world, intelligence appears in different arrangements. Some minds develop through social complexity, others through long lifespans and cumulative learning. In the octopus, intelligence arises through a different balance: a short life, a solitary existence, and a body built for flexibility rather than endurance. None of these resemble the conditions that shaped human cognition, yet the result still functions. This suggests that intelligence is not a singular achievement. It is a family of solutions. Each emerges where it is useful, shaped by the environment that demands it. Awareness does not require a specific body plan, lifespan, or social structure. It requires only that the benefits of flexible behavior outweigh the costs. The octopus shows that a centralized brain is not mandatory. Coordination can replace command. Learning can occur without teaching. Problem-solving can exist without language or culture. These traits were not borrowed from another lineage. They were assembled independently, guided by different constraints and opportunities. From an evolutionary perspective, this independence matters. It demonstrates that intelligence is not rare because it is fragile. It is rare because it is expensive. When it appears, it does so where it offers a clear advantage. The octopus pays for intelligence with longevity. Humans pay with extended development and high energy use. Each path carries trade-offs. There is no universal blueprint behind these outcomes. Evolution does not reuse a single design. It modifies what is available. In vertebrates, intelligence builds around bones and long lives. In cephalopods, it builds around softness, speed, and decentralization. Both work, neither invalidates the other. Seeing humans as one solution among many shifts perspective. Our intelligence is not the standard against which all others are measured. It is one expression among a broader set. This does not diminish its value. It places it in context. The octopus stands as evidence that awareness can take forms that feel unfamiliar yet remain effective. It suggests that evolution was not refining toward us. It was exploring possibilities, many of which never converged. Intelligence arose more than once, shaped by different histories, answering different problems. This realization expands the boundaries of what minds can be. It loosens the assumption that complexity must resemble our own to count. The octopus mind is not incomplete. It is complete in a different way, tuned to a world of currents, surfaces, and fleeting opportunities. What evolution was testing was not intelligence itself, but its many possible shapes. Some endured, some vanished, some persist quietly beneath the surface. Humans are one result of this testing. The octopus is another. Neither represents an endpoint. Both are moments in a long experiment that continues, exploring how many ways life can think. Language works by drawing lines. It separates one idea from another, assigns names, and fixes boundaries that feel stable enough to share. This system serves us well when describing objects that hold their shape or behaviors that repeat predictably. It becomes less reliable when faced with minds that do not organize themselves the way ours do. When scientists first attempted to describe octopus intelligence, they reached instinctively for familiar terms: learning, memory, problem solving. These words point toward real capacities, yet they also carry assumptions. They suggest internal structures modeled after our own, centralized, symbolic, and hierarchical. In the octopus, those assumptions begin to blur. The difficulty is not that the octopus lacks intelligence, it is that intelligence itself may not be singular. Our definitions often treat it as a unified trait that increases or decreases along a scale. The octopus resists this framing. Its abilities do not cluster neatly. Some capacities appear advanced, others absent. The pattern does not resolve into a single score. Language struggles with systems that distribute function rather than concentrate it. Words like mind and brain imply a center. Awareness suggests a location. Control suggests command. In the octopus, these ideas loosen. Coordination replaces command. Awareness emerges through interaction rather than observation. Control becomes a shared property of the body rather than a directive issued from one place. As definitions stretch, they risk losing precision. As they narrow, they exclude realities that do not fit. This tension reveals a limit, not in the octopus, but in our categories. We built them to describe ourselves first. When we encounter a mind shaped by different pressures, those categories begin to show their edges. Understanding without comparison requires restraint. It asks us to observe without constantly measuring against human experience. Comparison can clarify, but it can also distort. When every capacity is judged by resemblance, difference appears as deficiency. The octopus demonstrates that difference can be structural rather than subtractive. This does not mean abandoning language. It means using it with care. Descriptions become provisional rather than definitive. Terms point toward patterns without claiming full capture. Intelligence becomes a set of behaviors that work together in context, not a single essence that must look the same everywhere. Accepting this shift expands scientific inquiry. It allows minds to be studied on their own terms, within the logic of their bodies and environments. It acknowledges that awareness can arise in arrangements that feel unfamiliar, yet remain coherent and effective. The octopus sits at the edge of our definitions, not because it is anomalous, but because our language has not fully caught up with the diversity of minds that exist. Its intelligence is not incomplete. It is complete without reference to us. In recognizing the limits of human definitions, understanding deepens, not through broader claims, but through quieter adjustments. Intelligence becomes less about comparison and more about function, less about resemblance and more about presence. In that space, the octopus no longer appears as an exception to be explained away, but as a reminder that thinking life takes many forms, only some of which fit comfortably inside our words. Uncertainty remains even after decades of careful study. As understanding deepens, some explanations sharpen while others dissolve, revealing spaces where evidence thins and interpretation hesitates. In the octopus, these spaces are not gaps left by neglect. They are boundaries where current tools and concepts reach their limits. Awareness does not present itself as a single signal. It appears distributed, layered, and difficult to isolate. Neural activity spreads across the body, intertwining sensation and response in ways that resist clear separation. The central brain coordinates, yet much of the processing occurs elsewhere. Determining where awareness resides becomes less about locating a center and more about tracing relationships that shift with context. This uncertainty extends into the arms themselves. Each limb contains dense networks of neurons capable of sensing, adjusting, and acting with relative independence. These actions are not random. They are structured and adaptive, whether such processing includes experience in any meaningful sense remains unresolved. The distinction between complex reflex and localized awareness blurs when behavior adapts over time and responds to subtle change. Science proceeds cautiously here. Measurement can track electrical activity, chemical signaling, and behavioral outcome. It cannot yet confirm what it feels like, if anything, to be an arm reaching, gripping, or releasing. The question of independent experience remains suspended between observation and inference, neither affirmed nor dismissed. Beyond the octopus, these uncertainties widen. If intelligence can arise through such an unfamiliar arrangement, then other forms may exist that have not yet been recognized. Some may be too subtle, too brief, or too different to register within existing frameworks. Life evolves under countless conditions, many of which have not been examined with awareness in mind. Intelligence may appear wherever flexible response offers advantage. It may not always produce learning that resembles memory, or problem-solving that resembles planning. It may unfold through chemical signaling, distributed networks, or transient structures that leave little trace. These possibilities remain largely unexplored. The challenge lies not only in detection, but in interpretation. Tools are shaped by expectation. When awareness does not match familiar patterns, it risks being overlooked. The octopus became visible to science only after persistent attention revealed consistent complexity. Other intelligences may require different forms of attention altogether. These unanswered areas do not weaken scientific understanding. They strengthen it by marking where curiosity continues. They remind us that knowledge is provisional, shaped by method and imagination as much as by data. The octopus sits at the edge of what is known, not as an anomaly, but as an invitation to expand inquiry. Awareness may not reside in one place. Experience may not require a single viewpoint. Intelligence may not announce itself in recognizable ways. These ideas remain open, grounded in observation, but unresolved. They point toward a future where minds are studied less by comparison and more by careful presence. In accepting what remains unknown, science maintains its integrity. The unanswered questions surrounding the octopus do not diminish what has been learned. They illuminate the vastness of what remains unseen, suggesting that thinking life may be more varied, more widespread, and more quietly present than current understanding can yet fully grasp. At the edge of what is known, the octopus remains, not as an answer, but as evidence. Its existence shows that life does not follow a single script. It experiments quietly, shaping forms that function without asking to be familiar. In the depths where light softens and time moves differently, intelligence emerged along a path that never intersected with our own until now. The octopus did not inherit its mind from a long chain of social ancestors. It did not refine awareness through language, culture, or shared memory. Instead, intelligence appeared briefly, intensely, and alone. It formed within a body built for change, expressed through motion and touch, then faded when its purpose was complete. Nothing about it was meant to last. This reveals something essential about intelligence itself. It is not permanent. It is not guaranteed. It arises where conditions allow, persists only while it serves, and disappears without leaving instruction behind. The octopus mind exists fully, then vanishes, replaced by another that must begin again from nothing. Fragile does not mean weak, it means bounded by design. Diversity follows naturally from this freedom. Intelligence is not one thing repeated with variation. It is many things, each shaped by circumstance. Some minds gather in groups and extend themselves across generations. Others remain solitary and transient. Some rely on symbols and shared meaning. Others rely on direct engagement with the world. All of these count. The octopus stands as proof that life does not optimize toward a single form of thinking. It explores what works, then lets it go. There is no hierarchy implied in this process, no final version waiting to be reached, only solutions, each complete within its moment. In this light, intelligence appears less like an achievement and more like a phenomenon. It flickers into being where complexity meets opportunity. It adapts, responds, and sometimes reflects. Then it ends. The ocean has hosted such phenomena for hundreds of millions of years, long before humans noticed, and it continues to do so beyond our attention. What remains unseen may be as important as what has been studied. The octopus suggests that other minds may exist quietly, shaped by pressures we have not yet examined, expressing awareness in ways that leave little trace. Not all intelligence announces itself. Some simply operates, then dissolves back into the systems that produced it. This understanding invites humility rather than certainty. Humans are not separate from this pattern. Our intelligence, too, is temporary. It depends on fragile balances of energy, structure, and time. It persists only while conditions allow. Recognizing this does not diminish it. It situates it among many expressions rather than above them. As the narrative closes, the octopus remains where it has always been, moving through the water with quiet precision, thinking without words, learning without legacy. It reminds us that life experiments freely, without obligation to resemble us. And far beneath the surface, in forms still unimagined, the ocean continues to hold minds unlike our own, existing fully within their brief and remarkable moments.